One made their name covering the Hawks, the other covering the Clones. John Miller, Chris Williams from the Channel Seed Studios. This is Miller and Williams on Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed. Seedsmanship at work.
Powered by Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino.
What's going on? Happy Wednesday. It is April the 19th at the time of recording this week's Miller and Williams here on Iowa Everywhere. We are, we're recording this live from the Channel Seed Studios. Nice hat, John Miller.
Channel Seed, I'm a seedsman. Everybody knows that.
Seedsman at work.
Yep, old school seedsman.
Seedsmanship at work.
Yeah. Showmanship, seedsmanship share a lot in common. We use microphones, and the fine farmers across the state of Iowa, and should be every state, seedsmanship is their showmanship. Make sense?
Well said.
Thank you.
Well said. We are presented, as always, by our friends at Prairie Meadows Racetrack and Casino. We are getting to horse racing season, so that'll be starting up out at Prairie Meadows before too long. Didn't have a show last week. Miller's been doing a lot of traveling, doing more traveling this week. Where you going? Where you been, man?
I was up in West Branch a couple of weeks ago. My football coach passed, and Butch Peterson.
That looked like a hell of a turnout for that funeral, man.
I mean, 1,600 people in a packed gym in a town that's got 2,500 people.
It's awesome.
And Butch telling his kids as he was, literally had, slowly dying, worried that people weren't going to remember him. And it's like, come on, coach, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So it was cool. It's a beautiful thing. And then this weekend I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee. The largest propane convention of the year is there. We rent out a baller loft just off of Broadway. So can't wait. Looking forward to it. I'm really disappointed that there's no casinos in Nashville because Nick is going with me, and we were looking to hold down a blackjack table, and it's just not going to happen.
Just bring your own cards.
Yeah, could do that. That's
we
a great
could talk about flying Zoomier out to Nashville for you.
Matter of fact, yeah. Hey, could Sage Rosenfels help us hold down a blackjack table?
I would think so. I don't know if I want to play with Sage. He feels like Sage is a little too rich for my blood, baby.
Okay.
No, he'd be a blast. Dude, Sage is one of the most fun people in the world to hang out with.
I'm looking forward to it.
We got to take him to Vegas to Circa with us sometime.
You, me, and Sage and Maddie. Man. I mean, that they wouldn't even see us coming.
It would be awesome.
Yes, it would be.
Sage is a great time. I hung out with him. I did a night in Omaha with him. That's where he lives. We did a night in Omaha last year. Sage is hilarious, too, because you go to a restaurant or a bar with him, and everybody knows him. All the servers, because he's the guy. He's just, probably tips well.
Right.
He talks to everybody. He doesn't know a stranger. Everybody likes him.
That's great. It's good to have people like that in your life if you're not that person.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So we're coming into today's podcast pretty hot. We don't have a lot of lined up topics unless you want to dive into spring football, the NBA or NHL playoffs. Do you have any hot takes on any of these?
I remember when I was younger, spring football mattered a lot to me. I loved it. I got, just euphoria from it. Felt like we were going to get a lot of stuff. And really now, for me, in my opinion, spring football is the most important thing is the injury report. If you can get through spring football with people healthy, that's it. That's the news. People can splash in a quote unquote spring game, and Iowa has their own version. It just, to me, health in the spring is really the only thing that matters. As it relates to the NBA and NHL, I've got zero takes. NHL, Draymond Green is just the douchebag. I mean, I wouldn't want to pay. He's a good basketball player. He's just a hothead. Can't control his emotions. And go Kings. Longtime suffering Kings fan here. It's great to have.
Oh, yeah, it's your guy now. Your guy's there.
Egan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I really haven't cared much about the NBA since, the the Bulls run ended, but I became a Bulls fan once B.J. Armstrong was drafted by the Bulls.
Yeah.
I was a Dr. J Sixers fan before then, and he retired in the mid to late 80s. And then BJ came along, so I jumped on the Bulls then. And then
first jersey I ever owned was a B.J. Armstrong Bulls jersey.
Look at that. That's fantastic. So, but since then, the pickings have been slim for Hawkeye fans trying to latch onto an NBA team for an Iowa player. Not that there hasn't been a few, but Keegan certainly represented himself quite well as a rookie, setting the NBA rookie record for threes. The first 2 playoff games haven't been great from a stat sheet production standpoint, but he's
so you're like watching those games?
Yeah. Yep.
That's good. No, I get it. I mean, I'm like that with Niang. I'll watch the 76ers, but this sounds really like I'm being a jerk. It's not. Iowa State's had enough of those guys now where it's kind of worn off on me. I'm guessing like Iowa football. So like right now, it's like, oh, Breece Hall's playing or Brock Purdy's playing. I feel like, oh, I'm really excited to watch it.
It's just another day.
Yeah, so like they've had enough NBA guys playing the playoffs, like Monte's run with the Nuggets. It's not must-see TV for me, and I won't lie. You're one of the few people who will get this. After doing talk radio every day for 8 years, I'm kind of taking a summer off.
Yeah, I've kind of taken 13 years off.
I'm just I watched a little bit of the Clippers Suns last night. When I say a little bit, 10 minutes, and then I just turned it off and read a book. It's just I had to do that, and now I don't have to.
Right.
I'm not that passionate about it, so I'd rather have the Braves game on in the background while I read.
Yes, that's the fun thing about summer is you have your favorite team on in the background. After I quit doing daily sports talk, I would listen to like you and Ross, your opening monologues on like Mondays after football games. And then sometimes after a big basketball game, because I just wanted to get your reactions and takes and opinions. But that's it. No disrespect to you or anyone. I mean, right now, the only sports podcasts I listen to are Kaufman Corner, which is a Royals podcast by Saran Petro and Rainey Gisarelli, is the best sports podcast I've ever listened to, ever. Obviously, I love the Royals, but they're the two. They're unbelievable. They're from a pure baseball fan. It's amazing. And then I listened to the opening segment of the Barstool PFT Commander and Barstool Big Cat on Mondays following NFL Sundays when they do the fastest 2 minute in sports, and they're basically talking like this and pretending that they're Chris Berman and they're making up funny things.
What?
Yep.
What?
That's it. And then I'll listen to some shows on this network. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on it. I'll listen, I'll catch bits and pieces of you and how, so, I get in the chat sometimes and fire things off to you guys while you're doing the show. Always got to tune in to hear the hijinks of Don Hassel and his quirkiness. But yeah,
Sounds
I'm with
like
you.
Don had a hell of a weekend in Florida.
Hell of a time in Florida. The wet socks. I mean, I don't know what he's thinking. Like he's going to touch the water and fall. Oh, let me follow this water down. It's running away from me. Why am I afraid?
Like my dad's not that anymore, but for the longest time, and my grandpa he always just wore tennis shoes with socks. Could be 100 degrees. We're a boating family, and he would have his tennis shoes and socks on, but he'd take them off as we loaded and unloaded the boat. And I've never seen that shade of white in my life as my grandfather's feet.
My dad definitely has white feet. I don't know about how I've never been to the ocean with my dad. I don't remember the last time I was on a body of water with my dad. Is probably as a very young child. We're not a voting family. We were a terra firma baseball family. So I could give you plenty of idiosyncrasies about families, but that's a different day. That's a different day.
Well, we did have a few topics I wanted to dive in here today. One of them. So we're having a congressional hearing today. Don't turn it off. We're not getting in. We're not going to let woke Miller just go off. That's a good nickname for you. Well, it's
Woke
the Woke
Miller?
Miller Show.
Oh yeah, it just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? You're reaching really hard.
What did our friend Molly say? Woke sport. What did she call our show?
Oh,
a couple weeks ago.
Let me find it.
I forgot what it was.
Yeah,
called.
it was really funny. It was let me go down here to the bottom. Dose of Woke with Miller and Williams and Miller. And then I said, how about Toke of Woke?
So there's a congressional hearing going on right now.
Yeah.
Where they, like a year ago, 2 years ago, they had the Department of Defense in to look into the UFOs. Because John, like we're seeing a lot more now, right? And some of that's because everybody's got cameras, right? Like there's reasons for a lot of this. It doesn't necessarily mean we're being, attacked by aliens. That's not.
We're not talking pre-invasion reconnaissance necessarily.
Correct.
Here. Not ruling it out.
So they keep track of all these like sightings and stuff over the course of however many years, and there's exponentially more now than ever before. And the last 2 years have been a major uptick than the previous 2 years before that. So something's happening here, and Congress.
Happening here. Go.
Congress, it feels the need to get some answers as to what's going on. And again, like that doesn't necessarily mean we're under attack, but like why are all these, and it's not just civilians. In many cases, these are pilots in the Air Force, who are reporting these things. And you see, it feels like every couple of months now, the New York Times has got footage from these, these pilots, and there's this moving cylinder figure, and they don't know what it is, right? Like, people listening know what I'm talking about here. This is not me in my tinfoil hat. So there's this congressional hearing going on now. It's a follow-up to one from a couple of years ago where they created this new agency within the Pentagon that specializes in, they call them UFPs now. Unidentified phenomenon. They're not saying flying objects because I think they're trying to get away from the stigma of what a UFO is. And they're bringing this guy in because he's the head of this department, and he wrote a big paper and has a theory. Now, this is just a theory. He cannot prove it. There's a lot of these UFOs that have been spotted over water. And this guy's theory, John, is that these unidentified phenomenons are fueling up, and they use water as fuel. One man's theory, okay? Seems a little off to me. I feel like
I like that, actually.
But that is his theory, and this is a government, like Pentagon official who published this paper. And today, as we speak, John Miller, he is in front of Congress. What are your thoughts?
Is this the guy that had the theory of the Oumuamua, that cigar-shaped rock that flew by a few years ago? Is this the same guy that had the theory that we were visited by interstellar travelers, or is it a different guy?
I think this is a different guy.
Okay. All right. Well, so we'll put that to the side.
This guy's like official. Like he's like a legit, like our tax dollars are going to pay his salary.
Right. I think that the notion of water being used as a fuel is not a reach at all. I think that there have been some interesting, experiments and work done on that in the past. Obviously, we're just simple little, human beings with, can't handle that sort of thing. Or maybe the government's just bought up all the patents and put it in a box next to the Lost Ark, like from the Raiders of the Lost Ark and all that sort of thing.
There is a theory from our guy. Did you ever watch Unacknowledged, like I told you to?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So he claims within Unacknowledged that there was actually a man back in the, 60s or something who invented a way for automobiles to run off of water, and that they basically took him out back and killed him.
He was disappeared.
Yeah, because of the New World Order and the Illuminati and all that stuff.
Well, energy companies would have an interest in that, right?
Correct.
Right. So,
and who are the wealthy New World Order that would be calling the shots on a lot of this stuff?
Me and my guys, energy owners, right?
Especially in the 60s and 70s, even more so.
I'm going to tell you right now, I want you to watch your tone the rest of this podcast. Or you might find yourself.
I'm just saying. Do you know anything about this guy, Miller? I guess is the bet. Okay. All jokes aside, that there are, to prove the point you were just making, like there's a lot of people who believe that.
Absolutely.
Now.
Absolutely. I think something like that is absolutely possible because you look at water at its molecular level and what is it? It's hydrogen and it's oxygen. Hydrogen's one of the most plentiful resources in the universe. In hydrogen fuel cell technology, I've been reading about the potentialities of hydrogen fuel cell technology since the late 1990s, back in the days when we actually had newspapers like the Wall Street Journal. I was in energy at that time. I remembered reading about that, and they said someday you're going to be able to have a little, capacitor or some type of device at your house in the country running off of hydrogen, a hydrogen fuel cell that would power your whole house in perpetuity because it could, draw from the atmosphere and all that. Still a long ways away from that. But I absolutely believe if we don't kill ourselves as a species, we will get to that point. Now, I'm betting that we kill ourselves as a species before we get to that point, just so there's no mistake about that. But yeah, I do believe it's plausible. And also, I believe that aliens and the oceans make for an interesting theory. You'd sent me that link this morning about what was going on today at Congress. And then I instantly texted with Gracie because she and I talk about this stuff all the time. And she's frustrated with me and has been for years because I won't go along with her just hand in hand on believing that what we are seeing in these UAPs or UFOs or whatever acronym you want are interstellar visitors. And when I say interstellar, I mean from another solar system, not from the Milky Way galaxy, but from a different galaxy. Because I think if there were that type of advanced civilization in our own galaxy, even as far across as the Milky Way is, we would be able to have detected something by now. Yeah. But from another galaxy, no. But I tell her, it's like, Dad, well then, they're an advanced species and they came here from another galaxy. Unless they have mastered the ability to manipulate space-time, which means a full and complete mastery and understanding of how gravity works, which we do not have. We do not know how it works. We know its effects. We know that it's there, but we don't know how it works. Unless they've harnessed that, I don't believe another species could have made it here at the speed of light, considering how large the universe is. And a matter of fact, just a few weeks ago, due to a Webb Space Telescope discovery, they discovered a galaxy within allegedly 300 million years after the Big Bang, at a time period which they did not believe galaxies would have been able to even form, and they think they just saw a galaxy that fits in that time frame. So we may be having to reconstruct the base model of particle physics, the standard model of particle physics, and how we understand the universe, which to me is very exciting. So they either know how to control space-time and can do shortcuts from their galaxy to our galaxy, which would be a wormhole, basically folding space. The old analogies that we've all seen numerous times. You got one end of a piece of paper here, one end of a piece of paper here. For those of you watching, you're going to get a chance to see this, but for those of you who haven't, you've probably seen it other places. So these two distances where those two circles are, that's a long distance, but you can get there closer by folding time and punching a hole right through. It's a wormhole. So they either know how to do that, or the aliens that we're seeing, they're us. They're us. Now, what does that mean? They can be us in a number of ways. They can be us.
Talking like Men in Black stuff.
Men in Black, meaning it's a dark money government op that Congress doesn't know about. That's so deep that
New World Order. I've been talking about this for years.
New World Order, whatever you want to call it, or just
Illuminati.
Some part of the Pentagon that's funded by whenever we say, oh, we're missing $1 trillion. That sort of shit. Okay?
It's the Denver airport stuff.
Yeah. No. I'm not playing that. This doesn't have to be. I'm not saying crazy. I'm just saying it's secret. It's secret.
Have you ever studied the Denver airport? I don't think
God,
it's
no.
crazy that there's this underground
No, I've never
society going on down there.
No, that are living on blood of children.
No. I don't know why you have to take my theories and make them sound crazy. You should study that.
I just turn the news on every day. I'm sure. Is Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz on today's congressional hearing? Because we'll get to the bottom of shit if they are.
My point, I guess, so my follow-up to you would be, it's like, don't we have to consider the possibility that right now, I mean, we're like dinosaurs when it comes to technology compared to these beings?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we have to just acknowledge the fact that we could just be that far behind wherever the hell they are.
Yes, I think so. But when you think about it, as humanoids, all right, as Homo sapiens, it's, I don't know, there's a number of different estimates, but let's just say we've been around for 200,000 years. Okay. Maybe it's 300,000, maybe it's 100,000, but let's just go with 200,000 years that we've gone from, Homo erectus and Neanderthal and Cro-Magnon to Homo sapien, right? That we are here. It just didn't happen overnight. It was, it like everything in humanity in the world, there's a spectrum when we transitioned. But we were still unable to harness fire in an instant up until the last couple of 100 years, right? It wasn't until the early 1900s that we had any type of centralized industry on the planet Earth. Didn't have electricity 150 years ago, right? So what we've done from there to here is amazing, and we'll probably be able to do it if you just look. Is it Moore's law or Metcalfe's law that the speed of computer processing basically doubles every few years? So if we had 150 years to get from the horse and buggy to a what's Elon Musk's car, Tesla. Maybe it's only 75 years till we have the flying saucer cars. But again, another thing is, and I told you my theory is, either it's interstellar travelers that have learned how to fold time and they can punch through wormholes and be wherever they want. That would be okay. If that's them, doesn't matter who they are or what they are. Let's just sit back and not piss them off. Or two, they are us. They are humans.
And we are them.
And we are them. And they are either. So I'm going to read what I sent to Grace. This is better. Okay. They are us from Earth's past, or what we call the past, since I believe all of time is laid out. We just experience it linearly because as humans, we are born and we die, and we can't prolong that per se. Our carbon-based life forms are going to decay. So there's only a finite amount of time that we all have, even if we're healthy. Right. So from Earth's past, or what we call the past, and they had the technology to build pyramids and other amazing things on this planet, Chris, which we cannot to this day account for how ancient civilizations on this planet did that. And they had the technology to identify a potential extinction event that was coming. Say a big asteroid was coming, and they knew it was going to be here in a certain number of years. And they said, okay, outie, we gone. And they either went out into space and left and are just coming back to check on us, or they went under the ocean and they learned how to live in the ocean and in the sea, and ancient stories like Atlantis that keep popping up and all this. Maybe that was all real. And they have been with us all along. And for whatever reason now, and it's interesting that these things seem to have spiked about the time that we developed nuclear weapons.
And like it's a very proven fact that the sightings, the overwhelming majority, happen near hot nuclear zones.
Right. That's really fascinating. So that means to me that the first knee jerks I had. What are the first things you think of when you hear that? That these are over hot zones. So if
it's intelligent life, I think that whatever we're doing could be disrupting them wherever they are, and they're like, "What in the hell is going on here?"
Okay, that's one. Or the other
They feel
alternative,
threatened.
or the other, I'm going to come back to that. Or the other alternative is this is military technology that just the United States is not solely in possession of. It's military surveillance technology from Russia, China, whomever. That seems like, I don't know.
That's your Occam's razor right there.
That's Occam's razor. It's man-made. It's a dark op. It's technology. It's man-made. But go back to what you said before, that there, let's say for this conversation that it is a different intelligence, a different life form, or it's just not, current era humans, and they're observing what we're doing. I sometimes wonder if when we were doing all those nuclear tests as a species back in the 1940s and even up to the 1950s and maybe even some into the 60s, in North Korea seemingly every other day if they want to on the ground, if doing that causes damage within the space-time continuum, a nuclear explosion like that, could it potentially cause damage? And they're coming around saying, hey, you guys are effing things up. Now, as I'm saying this out loud, I throw shade on that because the sun is a nuclear fusion reactor, and these types of things happen every second on the sun. So maybe that's not a good hypothesis. But what if they could also be us from the future, or what we view as the future? Again, since we live in the understanding of linear time, and they are the future, checking in on us from a historical perspective to see what the heck happened to us due to some forthcoming extinction event that we had. And you ever see the movie Interstellar?
Hold on. Is that a Siamese cat?
No, it is a ragdoll.
Oh, it's like one of them Siamese
a
kitties.
ragdoll snowshoe combination. He's a great cat. Love this cat. Fantastic.
No, I've never seen the movie Interstellar.
So I think that, let me read one more thing because I'm bouncing around here. I don't like that. I sent this to Grace too. I said, my mind gets more and more around just how immense the observable universe is, and that it's only the tip of the iceberg to how big it is as far as what we can see of the observable universe. And these people are either brilliant beyond compare to be able to travel to this planet from other extra, interstellar galaxies. Or perhaps, what if they are the creators? What if the theys that we're seeing are the creators? The creators of all that we observe, the gods, so to speak. And I have a little kind of, not necessarily a theory. It's not a working hypothesis, but more of a science fiction fan notion of, what if God is a scientist? What if God?
Yeah, I think you're getting kind of crazy here, John. I got to step in. I mean, I feel like this is nuts.
Why?
So basically, I mean, we're in like our own little version of the Hunger Games.
Possibly. What if?
That's how I read that.
No, that's good.
The way I see it is, you're saying like we're in like this little
Petri dish,
like a snow globe, and there's this guy up there, and
okay,
now we're gonna send this figure over to the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, didn't say
Check out what these idiots are doing.
Yeah, as humans, we're limited by our own observation, so we project anthropomorphic, projections onto everything. It has to be human. God created man in his own image. Well, there's an original thought, because why he wouldn't create, if he was a horse, he wouldn't create it like this. So it's just Occam's razor. What if God or gods, what if they were scientists? And they, in their realm, which is, bigger than the realm that we live here on Earth, what if there's a problem that they are trying to solve for, right? And we are the experiment, and they keep running this experiment over and over to try to get the desired result, and the desired result would save their realm that they live in. This actually is a way better science fiction story and book than it is a theory of what it is.
You need to write this.
I'm already 150 pages into it, my friend. So anyway,
so you were talking underwater.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you watched or listened to Two Guys Named Chris this week, but my wife was watching Titanic
Yes.
this week. I don't want to talk about that godforsaken movie.
I've never seen it.
Well, are
So I
you
know how it ends.
interested at all in the boat?
I'm aware of the boat and the stories about the Titanic, yes.
I, as a kid, was obsessed, like, with this shipwreck. Like, anything I could get my hands on.
I was
I
more of
would
an
read.
Edmund Fitzgerald guy, but I could see the interest. Go ahead.
This is pre-internet, like when
Right.
this is, because it got discovered. They found it in 1985. That was the first time they found it, the actual shipwreck,
Right.
because it had moved so much after, after it actually happened, and they just didn't have the technology and whatnot. So I'm like looking through encyclopedias and stuff. If you could imagine, like a 12-year-old Chris Williams, just
Yeah, you just walk over to the family's Britannica, you know?
yeah, and Big Mike. Actually, Big Mike never got suckered into buying those things, but I'm at libraries, school, whatever. And so she's watching this Titanic movie, and it just reinvigorated like this passion point of a young Chris Williams, to the point that I have been obsessing over the Titanic shipwreck for the last 72 hours. I've been
The last
reading about
72
it.
hours, okay.
I've been looking at pictures. Because it was like a 90-year anniversary or something like that was on Sunday, which is
Okay.
probably why she was watching it.
Right.
Probably
right.
why it was on. And
It's like Shark Week, but it's Titanic Week.
it's fascinating to me that, I wanted to ask you about this. I didn't tell you this. Because there's thousands of people died. It's like a graveyard down there, although their bodies aren't there because apparently salt water eats at your bones and eventually just completely disintegrates everything.
Sure.
From what I've been,
Yeah.
there's this big debate that I didn't know was a thing, because if the Titanic doesn't get saved, it's going to just completely disintegrate because
for
of the
sure.
salt water over
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah. In Florida, if you drive like high tide in a street that floods in your car, you better go to the car wash because it's going to rust out.
So the point is, there's this big debate now. Should we be trying to like save pieces of the Titanic and bring it up for the sake of history to preserve it, or should we let that graveyard be?
I'd let the graveyard be. We've already had our current technology scan it, create modeling. We know the whole layout of it all. We know the end of the story. We have the answer to what became. And I really could give two shits if I was ever able to position to go touch a 2x12 piece of steel from the Titanic. Not my thing. Maybe it is for somebody. I'd say leave it be. It's a cemetery, right?
Yeah, that's the argument. Like that is and that's kind of where I landed too. I mean, we don't just go and digging up graves. I mean, and that's essentially what. But I would also think too, wouldn't there be, like they say there's not, but God, I would think, like in the depths of that where we've never been able to get to, there would be some skeletons and stuff, right? Or is that completely gone?
It just depends. I'm sure there's a life cycle at which the bones, just all hundreds of years. I don't know the answer to that, but water wins every battle. In the battle between water and stone, the water wins not because it's stronger, but just because it's more persistent. Water always wins. Water will always find a way. So yeah, and salt water at that, of course the bones are going to go at some point in time. I just don't know what that time is, but I'd leave it be. I'd leave the Titanic be. Does this have any connection to aliens?
Well, you were talking about these underwater civilizations, and I was like, well,
the reason why is because they can.
That's why it came to my mind.
Okay,
because you were talking about that.
I'm not coming at you for changing the topic. It's not like
I've
we're
been living.
locked in.
You got to understand where my mind's been at for 72 hours, Miller. I've been thinking about the Titanic, and you're like, oh well, these they're living underneath the ground, and I'm like, well, maybe,
I think it's plausible.
Maybe they've been to the Titanic.
I think it's plausible that whatever, something other than us, or maybe a home for these UAPs, I think it's plausible that it would be underneath the water, because I'm going to guess that we know as much about our interplanetary system that we are a part of, the 8 planets plus whatever you want to do with Pluto.
Pluto's a planet.
We have more.
That's a fascinating discussion too, by the way. I refuse to just sit there and let the astronomers, take a huge greasy dump all over the planetary scientists who still believe it's a planet.
Well, I'm down to be a voice of support for the ostracized and those on the margins of society, and so I'm here for Pluto if need be. But my thought is, I think we have maybe a greater understanding and knowledge of what's going on in our interplanetary system than we know what's going on 5 miles below the surface of the ocean at the depths that there are greater depths in the ocean than Mount Everest is above sea level. And the pressures are so immense. That is the true undiscovered territory. To go where no man has gone before, it's in the oceans. So I absolutely, if I was an advanced, I think we have deep water submersibles that can, but they're limited. These are not, we don't have like interstates down there. We have like one little submarine that can cover this little bit of space. If there was an intelligent species, they'd like, okay, we see that thing coming. It's going to take them 2 years to get here. We'll just move or whatever. I just think that it would not surprise me one day if we were able to prove the existence of these things and they are not of, Earth's makeup, that these things just basically were endogenous and they live underwater where we can't find them.
Okay.
To me, the classified documents I'd be interested in knowing if they existed, which is kind of a stupid thing to say, would be what have American submarine sonars, what have they picked up all these years? Have they picked up things unexplained, classified that we can't say? Maybe that's where wreckage has come from other, if let's view the pyramids in both Egypt as well as Central America. Let's view that as wreckage from a pre-existing technology, right? Why wouldn't the ocean floors be potentially littered with some type of alien craft if we're going to go there and we reverse engineer it that way? It makes a lot more sense to me than somehow an alien falling out of the sky over Roswell in 1940 something when we didn't have the ability to shoot them out of the sky.
All right, next time we go to Vegas, we're going to rent a vehicle and go to Roswell.
You know how many times out of my window of my suite this last month in Vegas, I just kept looking in the direction of Area 51 because I know where it's at. I've been Googling Area 51 on Google Maps since Google Maps started. I check in usually a couple times a year.
See any changes?
Oh, yeah. Longer runways, which means that they've got, aircraft that are heavier, that need longer runways to land. I think the vast majority of things that people see are explainable. But I listened to a book on tape on my way to and from Iowa 2 weeks ago.
A book on tape?
Well, an audio book. Not cassette.
I was going to say, what the hell? You have like an actual cassette player?
That's a show your age. We used to call them books on tape. And you'd get this big old giant plastic thing you'd open, and there'd be a dozen cassettes. And you got to make sure you're putting in the right one. And the dickhead before didn't rewind it. So you're pissed about that. But anyway, so an audio
VCR,
book,
man.
and it was called UFO of God was the name of it. And
that's the one you've been telling me to check out.
Yeah. So I've been hanging out with you. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to check into this. I don't know what it was that I saw. But I listened to all of it. And this guy's name is Bledsoe. And man, this guy claims to have been visited by orbs of light, and talked with these beings and saw these alien type beings for a number of years. And this guy's still living and still talking about to this day. And the number of people that he name checks in that book that are existing people today, people that used to have general rank in the military, and that's, if you start just making shit up like that, there's too many people that he named checked that they would all just shout him down and say, this is untrue. I was never with this guy. Here's my itinerary. Here's where I was. Here's my alibi. Way too many people to name check just to be making it up.
Yeah, I don't
So,
think all these people are crazy. Like
right.
something
So,
happened to
and
them.
I don't think it's a mass delusion the way that I think that there are many mass delusions within the human species, and I won't even get into that. I don't think this is a mass delusion event from these people. Do I think some of these people see what they shine their light on, metaphorically? Sure, we all do. We're humans. We have a bias, we have preconceived notions, and we go looking for things that reinforce that notion for any number of psychological reasons. But I think that there's validity to this. So I've been sitting out in my back patio the last 2 weeks, looking up at the stars with a little
Hell yeah,
bit
you have,
different
man.
eye. And I'm like, all right, man, I'm here. Orbs, show up. Let's go.
We get into it. We got that app on my iPad, the Night Sky
Night
app.
sky, yeah, to see what you're looking at.
Yeah, we got that. We sit out there, me and Cammy do, and because a couple weeks ago it was a big, because you could see Uranus, you could see like
No,
Jupiter.
I saw more of my anus this last 2 weeks than I wanted to know about.
Excuse me.
You know what? I told myself I wasn't going to do this. Do I do it?
Is this
Do I-
about the needle?
Needle in the asshole? Yeah. Yeah, folks, let me tell you what. I've experienced, I'm derailing this whole show. This show is a train wreck and I apologize to all of you.
This show's. I think people will like it.
It'd probably be entertaining, but it certainly is not on topic. I had a needle in the asshole 2 weeks ago, and I've had kidney stones. I've had abscessed teeth, the pain of which people say those are the number 1 and number 2 on the pain meter. For 60 seconds, needle and hemorrhoid, number 1. Undefeated, stands alone. Standing on top of the mountain of pain, my personal pain index saying, are you not entertained? And no, I was not. And that doctor said, hey, Mr. Miller, this is going to be a short period of rather intense pain. And he didn't give me a chance to ask a follow-up question. He just dove in. And
so what they do, like get the juice out of it?
That was to actually save me from pain.
Oh.
That was to save me from pain.
And then they cut it off.
And then I had a thrombosed hemorrhoid, which is a hemorrhoid with a blood clot. 1 in 2 Americans 50 years or older deal with hemorrhoids. So, deal with it. A lot of women that have kids, it's a lot of them, they deal with it. That pain, Chris, was indescribable. I held onto the side of the gurney with both hands as I'm laying there on my side, my ass just sitting out there to whoever wants to walk by and see it, which is a total of 0 people that want that. And I yelled out loud in pain. I screamed out loud in pain. Never done that before that I recall. I've writhed in pain from my kidney stone, but I've never yelled out in pain as an adult that I can recall. That was rough. But you know what? The funny part of it all, the irony is like on Monday. So on Monday, I've been dealing with this for 2 or 3 days, drove up to Iowa and back. And that was not a fun trip dealing with that. And then my wife's like, yeah. It's no good. She's like, John, just go into the urgent care. Just go in.
No,
they'll take a look at it.
Those doctors don't know what the hell they're doing for the hemorrhoid.
Well, I said, listen, my doctor, who is a man, he's not available till Friday.
Dr. Osman.
The ass man, Dr. Assman. He's not available till Friday. And this was Monday. And I'm thinking to myself, man, this really sucks. This is really uncomfortable. But I can deal with that more as opposed to just going in and getting a random doctor who may be a female. Now, those of you listening to this, if you're still with us, for one,
Sounds
congratulations.
Misogynistic.
It sounds really misogynistic, but and most people listen, I am a feminist advocate, all right? It has nothing to do with me thinking a woman has any less ability in medicine than a man at all. And I could go on and on about how bullshit society has done that to women, dating back to the women being burned at the stake in the Middle Ages, but I won't go there for this day because I've already gone off topic. I just don't want a woman looking at my ass crack. Can I be blunt like that? Don't want it. And I don't want a man looking at my ass crack either.
I was going to say, so you'd rather have a guy.
In this particular instance, I would. Don't know what that says. Says nothing other than I'm trying to protect as many humans from seeing that as possible. But by the time Wednesday morning at 3 a.m. rolled around and I hadn't slept and I couldn't sleep, I sent my wife an email saying, hey, I got up early, drove myself to the ER. I'll talk with you later, because she's out. I didn't want to bother anybody. And that's when I drove in there and they gave me that and all this sort of stuff. So, yeah. So they sliced it open. They squeezed out the blood clots.
Okay, I think we've heard enough, honestly. I think you've done a pretty good job with this story.
So, yeah. And then I was texting you.
Very descriptive.
And I was texting you about it. You're like, oh, man, we got to talk about this. I'm like, I don't know if I want to talk about this. maybe my instincts were better than yours, because now after having heard this, you're feeling uncomfortable. You're like, this is not the type of content that I want to be associated with.
Nothing makes me uncomfortable.
Because frankly, I want you to retell your story, which I laughed my ass off when I heard this.
Yeah. No, because you can't really embarrass me because of my laxative story. I'm sure
you took laxatives for over a year.
14 months. Exactly. Every day.
How did do you have problems with incontinence?
Incontinence makes it sound like I can't control it. Like I was never leaking.
God.
But for real, for a year I couldn't schedule a meeting before noon.
Why? What did you think you were taking?
I thought I was taking fiber.
Oh, no, son.
You were fiber lax.
180 degrees.
Yeah. Well, no, it was called fiber lax. It's like a real thing you can buy in the store.
It's got fiber in it, but it encourages your intestines to do the little boogie woogie that they do to have a bowel movement.
And once I figured it out,
we're all adults here. Right?
Once we figured it out, you looked on the back of the bottle and it says, do not take for more than 7 days in a row.
Yeah. Yeah.
It could be really damaging to your colon.
And that's why I feel so bad for you, because I mean, at least for me, one out of every 2 people my age or older deals with a hemorrhoid or has dealt with a hemorrhoid at some point in time in your life. But I cannot imagine going through life as courageously as you are dealing with incontinence. That would be incredibly rough.
One of the worst parts of it too, other than the obvious, was that, I get off of this thing and I immediately put on 10 pounds.
Yeah. Because
I'm not just draining every ounce every day.
Yeah.
Like I have been for a year.
Right. Yeah, I will say that I'm in a weight loss challenge with one of my coworkers for the year. And the last 2 weeks have been really productive on the weight loss challenge.
You should take some fiber lax right before the
that's my in case of emergency on December 12th if I'm not close to my 205 pounds. I'm 211 right now.
Oh, I think you'll be
down from 227 in January. I'm going to basically do what you do before you get your colonoscopy and just chug that shit down and clean the whole system out. I don't like to lose, son. Do not like to lose.
Well, you guys tweeted us if you're still listening at this point in today's podcast.
There's no one still here. I guarantee you I've offended multiple groups of people. I've offended the sensitivity.
Why? Who have you offended today? Because of the God thing?
Probably.
I mean, I'd like to think that you're not preaching this. You're
no.
If.
This is my theory. I believe that there's a God. I just don't. I no longer ascribe anthropomorphic projections on it, and I no longer, feel that there's a holy book or anything like that. But so I'm still spiritual. I'm not an atheist. So, and if you are, there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah. Hey, we're a very open arms program.
We are.
Here
I enjoy talking about things like this, though.
I do too, and we'll see what happens. We'll follow this story. I'm going to be all over it. I don't think I'm going to watch C-SPAN for it this afternoon.
Oh, good. You're talking about aliens. I thought you meant my ass. I'm like, you're not welcome.
Yeah, I don't know.
The story's over.
I would like
there.
updates. Does it feel better?
So when I went in last Friday for an update, he said it's the largest hemorrhoid he'd ever seen in a non-surgical environment.
Jesus.
And then I started Googling what surgeries were for hemorrhoids and the recovery and pain, and I was not happy. He gave me a prescription topical, which is gross. I'm happy to report that Harry is now back almost to normal size and no longer above surface level.
Is this all because of Vegas, the poor eating habits?
It potentially was.
Yeah. All right.
A lot of non-fibrous times. 20 hours at a blackjack table.
So
nothing.
Sitting at Benny's for that many hours, that'll do it to a man.
Every morning I woke up and walked down to that breakfast buffet, if you recall, and that's all that I ate.
I didn't go to that once. I was on a totally different eating schedule than you. I ate at that Asian restaurant at like 2 a.m. every night. So then I was full until and then I wouldn't eat for like 12, 13 hours after that.
Yeah, we were just on opposite
2 meals.
sides. We were just on opposite sides of the desk there.
2 meals in Vegas. I don't eat 3.
Yeah, no, I don't eat 3 meals any day.
All right, Miller, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, I need to leave. I'll show myself out.
This has been a
interesting
show.
I'll show myself out.
He's John Miller. I'm Chris Williams. We'll be back next week.